So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join this session. The purpose of this meetup is to bring industry experts to share their wealth of experience with us, add some type of value to us based on their expertise, and we gain experience in the process. We learn some things and unlearn certain things that we did not know. By the way, Mr. Adetula has been a friend. He's actually the person that showed me the path into the digital space, although I've been in the IT background working from EcoBank, but is the one that opened the door to like project management. I can never forget the critical path in project management. The session was brilliant. I'll never forget the extreme engineering videos, how they added value to the work that I started doing in the course of my career. So welcome with me, Mr. Abidoun Adetula of Architect Consulting. Let us get to know you, and you have the show. It's all yours.
Thank you very much, Mercy. Thank you for the opportunity. And for the next maybe 30 minutes or 40 minutes, we'll be sharing my screen. Mercy, can you allow me to share my screen?
Yes, please. Yes, sorry about that.
Yeah, because just enable me to share my screen. Thank you.
Go on. That's it. It's done.
Okay. Okay, just down. Okay, great. Fine. Good evening, everyone, once again. My name is Abidoun Adetula, and tonight we want to discuss how Lean principles can improve organizational excellence. So a brief intro about me. I help people and businesses to think and work smart. I help them to improve their processes and performances. I create positive experiences with their customers. So I'm a certified project manager. I'm a certified Six Sigma Black Belt. I'm a certified ISO 9001 implementer. I'm a certified quality process analyst. And I'm married. I've got 2 daughters, and that's all for now. Okay, so Dr. Michael Harry, it's a Six Sigma co-founder. He made a profound statement, which is what I want to start with. He said, we don't know what we don't know. We can't act on what we don't know. We won't know until we search, and we won't search for what we don't question. We don't question what we don't measure, hence we just don't know. So the bottom line is that a whole lot of things that we don't know about businesses, about processes, and the more we learn, the better we know, and the better we know, the more questions we keep asking. Then I think Mercy will have to work on that. So if there's anytime you want me to stop and to take active questions, maybe I'll do that after my short presentation. So just bear with me as I go on. I have a picture before us this evening. It shows a man that is trying to go over the fence, and he's got a whole lot of ladders. And yet, he just couldn't climb the fence. And we have that underneath that we wrote that it doesn't matter how many resources that we have. If we don't know how to use them, they would never be enough. So in organizational performance and in business today, sometimes it's because we don't have enough resources. And at times, it's because we just don't know how to make the best use of the resources. And let's see what all organizations want. So we have this. Okay, so we look at the shortest possible lead times for providing products and services, the optimum level of strategic inventory and human resources, the highest practical customer service level, the highest possible quality. That means that you want to have less return, less complaint from your customers. And every organization also wants the highest return on investment. But there's a challenge to this. The challenge is that how we go about it becomes an issue. Because as we try to do that, we also want to make sure that we have the lowest possible waste, or what we call the cost of poor quality. So during COVID, and we are still in COVID, it's becoming more and more challenging for organizations to be more profitable, except for tech industries. For most organizations, it's become a highly challenging environment for them now. And so for them to deliver high quality product service and at the lowest cost possible is becoming more and more challenging for them. So companies are looking for how to improve their performance and to support continuous improvement. But to do this has become an issue. We all know the basic business model that we have here. Cost and profit gives us what we call price. So ideally, traditionally, all our businesses, we try to factor in what the cost of providing that business or that product or service. Then we add up what you call profit to it. So we have a case of add profit to it.
Abby, we lost you. Are you there? Mr. Adetula?
Hear me? Hello, Messi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We lost you for
okay.
a moment.
Oh, sorry, probably the network. Now, if you see what I'm sharing on our screen, talk about cost plus profit gives us the pricing for our product or our services. Now, the challenge that we have now is that cost keeps going up. And for it to be profitable, then we have to add some margin to it. So if I take example, like let's take a bottle of Coke today. Let's say a bottle of Coke goes for, that's in, let's say like $1. That is the price for a bottle of Coke. Then let's assume that the cost of production and everything is about maybe 65 cents. Then you have a profit by Coca-Cola of 15 cents, making 80 cents. Then between their distributors and retailers, before it gets to the end market or end user, it becomes $1. Now, what happens when the cost of production goes up? So for 65 cents, cost of production becomes something like maybe 80 cents. And Coca-Cola, the 15 cents that they had it before, probably would not be the same 15 cents anymore if they want to get the same profit that they are having before. So let's say they had 20 cents, that has become already 20 cents. Sorry, and $1. So when it becomes $1, then when we look at the distributors, the retailers, then it goes to maybe $1.30. But the challenge is this: if everything, if it's in a perfect environment, then that's cool. It was $1 before, now it's become $1.30. But the challenge is this: that for Coca-Cola to still sell at $1.30, there must be a demand for that product at $1.30. So which means that the consumers are willing to pay the $1.30. Sometimes they can, but most times, what do? We go to the competition that's probably selling at maybe $1.20 or $1.10 or that same $1. So it's difficult for companies to easily just increase price that way when their consumers or their customers are not willing to pay for it. Yes, it's not as if it's not possible. If you take a company like Apple, or you take companies that are highly innovative, so when they want to increase profits, then they have one or two innovations to their products, and they could hype the price. And when they up the price, they do excessive marketing to make sure that they convince people on why they should still buy the product that way. But it's possible in an highly innovative environment. But for most products and services, the innovation is not that clear cut. So because it's not that clear cut, it's so difficult to keep increasing price and to keep increasing price and to keep increasing price that way.
Abby, we lost you. Adetula, we lost you again.
How about now?
Yeah, it's much better.
Okay, so just hold on.
Maybe you want to turn your video off.
Okay, once I start, it doesn't show again. My video does not show again once I start.
Okay.
Yeah, are you seeing my video now? I don't think it's on again. So I think it's network. Are you sure it's not from your side? Okay, let's move on. If it happens again, just let me know on time, please. Thank you. So now, companies find ways to reduce costs. And here is the challenge. In trying to reduce costs to become profitable, a whole lot of things begin to happen. So we have companies that undercut services. Then we have issues of layoffs, downsizing, rationalization. Then we have outsourcing. Outsourcing is fantastic if it's done well. But most times in my experience and with the companies I've worked with, whenever they do outsourcing, they come back to have a whole lot of customer service issues with the outsourcing because it's not done well. Then we have companies eliminating some features in their products or services. Then interestingly, especially in this part of the world where regulations is not that strict, then we have companies employing sharp practices and cutting corners. I was with a client yesterday, and it's one of the major producers of custard in Nigeria. And they have an issue, and which is part of what I was supposed to address with them yesterday. Now, they told me that their custard is not selling the way it used to sell in the market again. And the challenge was that they've come to realize that their own custard is much expensive than most other brands in the market. And she brought out all the other brands. They bought them because we did that. We checked it ourselves yesterday. They brought out all the other brands. And what we discovered with these other brands is that some that they said they are 1 kg, when we measured it, what we had was 800 grams. Others have 850 grams. In fact, there was one particular brand of custard in Nigeria that had 700 grams and it's been sold as 1 kg. Then we measured my client's own, it's still exactly 1 kg. So they said the challenge that they have is that they can't do the same thing that these companies are doing. Not because they cannot do it, because they know if they do it, they will likely go away with it, at least for now, when we have the regulations are not that strict in this part of the world. But the company has international partners. And because they have international partners, there are a whole lot of processes that they've been put in place and a lot of controls that their own internal quality control system would not allow them to do anything less than 1 kg. So if they call it 1 kg, it must be 1 kg. But their competitors are doing 700 grams, 800 grams, and calling it 1 kg. So clearly, there's not going to be any way they can favorably compete with these other guys if they're still doing 1 kg. But yet they have to do 1 kg. So we have to start finding what are the other things that we can do, which are the part of what I've taken up as a project with the company starting yesterday. So we have companies that are employing sharp practices, they are cutting corners. Then we have companies that are closing operations. Now, the challenge with all this is that it still comes back, yet it may work at the beginning, but one way or the other, we discover that it's more of a hit and miss. Because they save cost in one area and they end up losing in a whole lot of area. There's a telecoms company that I did some job for sometime years ago, and they did downsizing because they were trying to cut costs. But the challenge with the downsizing that they did was that it was not well. The processes was not. They didn't look at a system thinking on all they wanted is that they just called each department. If you have reduce your staff by 20% or by 30%. So what do these departments do? Each of them kept looking for who are the people that are going to leave this department. So they look for, maybe they check their files, they look for those that have had one issue or the other. And we started having the issue about downsizing in all these departments. Now, the challenge with this company was that within 3 months, there had been a whole lot of customer service issues, a whole lot of complaints, a whole lot of systems, a whole lot of transactions that were failing, and a whole lot of customer issues. And the company had to start looking for new staff to come on board. And the challenge is this: if anybody here that's at work in HR would discover that when the cost of hiring a new staff is much more higher than retaining or maintaining an old staff. So at the end of the day, they have to bring in new staff that are not as experienced as the guys that they laid off, and they have to pay them higher because they are coming from maybe the competition or all that. But for that whole year, the company sales and the customer service problems were just going up, and a whole lot of sales in terms of the transactions that customers are doing on their web network kept going down, just because they did not do the downsizing well. So sometimes companies do things that they think they are cutting costs, but at the end of the day, it does more harm than good to those companies. And sometimes it erodes customer loyalty, market share, and brand perception. And sometimes it shows as disasters. And at the end of the day, they even have issues of not making the best or getting all the potential service they ought to get. This is where we start thinking of there must be a need for change. If we need to reduce costs, if we need to improve performance, if we need to improve the way we work and boost our excellence in our organizations, do that, make customers happier, get more customers on board, make more sales, and be highly profitable and able to cut costs, then we have to start checking one or two things. That there are things that we would have done better if you know how to do it, but most times you just don't know. One of them is that if you know how to make life better for our customers and ourselves, if you make how to make things better for us and our customers, if we know what we can do to make it easier for businesses or for companies or for consumers or customers to do business with us. So these are the challenges that most companies are having now, and there's a need for change. And that is where Lean comes in. Lean is not new, but a whole lot of people know it. They know one or two things about it. But when it comes to the application, we still have a whole lot of companies that don't understand how Lean is being applied. So what exactly is Lean? It is employing minimum resources to realize the maximum output and provide customers with exactly what they want without accumulating unnecessary inventory. It is based on the premise that anywhere work is being done, waste is generated, and it should be minimized or removed. So it's a relentless focus on identifying and eliminating waste in all our processes. And it can be used in any part of the organization. Okay, so the objective of Lean is to incorporate less effort, less inventory, less response time, and less space in order to become highly responsive to actual customer demand and produce high quality product or service in the most timely, efficient, and economical manner possible. Basically, we want to be able to do more with less. So that's basically what Lean is all about. So let's see what exactly why companies use Lean. It helps us to be able to reduce waste. It helps us to be able to reduce the time it takes us to be able to attend to our customers. It helps us to be able to reduce the time we do work in our businesses. It helps us to be able to reduce inventory. And the bottom line, it helps us to reduce costs. Then when it comes to what it helps us to increase, it helps us to increase the quality, process capability, productivity in an organization. It helps us to increase safety and help us to improve workers' morale in the company. Okay, so how does it do that? It helps us to remove waste, so we're able to work faster. It helps us to remove complexity and bottlenecks in all that we do. So when we're able to do that, it helps us that our process becomes faster in all that we do, and it can be done faster and more predictable. What else does it help us to do? It helps us to be able to get things done cheaper. Because if you have fewer steps that we take to get work done, if there are less complexity, and if you can get things done faster, the bottom line is that we are able to save, or we're able to do things cheaper. So those savings could go to our margin and increase our profitability, or also goes to be shared with our customer to improve our market position. And it helps us to be able to do work better as well. We're able to get exactly what customers want. We're able to know exactly what they want and give them just what they want and nothing more, nothing less. And so we're able to have improved quality or higher quality in whatever we do, or in our businesses or in our services. So this is the concept of Lean. 5 steps. The first one is that you identify what value is. And value is understood from the standpoint of the customer. What is important to the customer, not what is important to the business per se, is basically what customers are interested in. So we call it value, which I think I will talk about more in the next 2 or 3 slides. Then we try to identify all the activities that we do to help achieve this value for the customer. And anything that is not part of the activities that we do, we try to remove them, because all we are interested in all the activities that we do to help us to achieve value for the customer. Then the next thing that we do when we have done this is make sure that we allow just only these activities that provide value for the customer. Those are the only things that we allow to flow. Then we want to make sure that our customers are the one pulling it. So we want to produce those activities and our services and our products when our customers need them. So we don't want to have overproduction or over processing or whatever. We want to that customer asks for a particular service and we make it available when customers want it. Then we strive for perfection, which is what we call continuous improvement. So this is basically the lean methodology. Understand value, understand what is important to the customer, understand the activities that we do to achieve this value, make sure that it's only those activities that we are doing, ensure that customers are the one asking for those things that we are doing. Then we find better ways of getting our work done. That's continuous improvement. So in everything that we do in our daily activities, we can divide them into 3. This is what we look at for companies, or for companies that you can do yourself. There are 3 things basically that we do in their companies. The first one is the one in green. We call it a value-added activity. Is anything that we do that the customer is interested in and the customer is willing to pay for, and it's tangible. We could see, we could feel it at the end of the day that this is what customer is paying for. So it's what the business is interested in, is what the customer is willing to pay for, is what the customer will feel as if he has received value for whatever he's doing. So we call that value-adding activity. So let's take let's say somebody goes to the bank and it gets to the car park. The security directs him or her. Okay, let's use a man. A man goes to the bank. It drives into the into the compound, and the security shows him where to park. Now it gets to the bank, and the bottom line is that if somebody goes to the bank, what it wants to do is to withdraw cash. So every other thing is by the way. What he wants is to get to the bank and to withdraw cash. Let's say it's not what he could withdraw from ATM. He has to go physically into the banking hall to get the money. So it goes into the banking hall, it fills a withdrawal slip, it gives it to the cashier. The cashier checks and makes sure that everything is correct and everything. And at the end of the day, it gives him his money. So what matters to this customer, let's call it customer X, is that it wants to withdraw $1,000. And at the end of the day, it walks out of the banking hall with $1,000. Now, but before it could get this $1,000, it needs to fill a slip. And when it fills the slip, the cashier will have to check to be sure that is attending to the right customer or to the owner or the owner of the account. So the cashier will check the balance to make sure that he has more than at least minimum of $1,000 in his account. He is not owing the bank, and it will check his signature to make sure that his signature is okay. And it checks all that things that maybe the bank asks them to check. So when the cashier checks all this and the cashier is satisfied, then the cashier will debit his account for $1,000 and count his cash and hands it over to him. And the man leaves the banking hall. So what is value adding activity here? It's that the cashier gives him his money. But before he could do that, it debits his account. It debits his account, it gets an alert, his account will be debited, and he gets his money. That is a value-adding activity. That is what they came for. Every other thing might be important, but that is not an issue for the customer. But before the cashier could give him the $1,000, the cashier would have gone through what we call scanning in banking terms, scan through the withdrawal slip to make sure that there is no alteration, that the amount in words, $1,000 is also the amount in figures, and that the signature is okay. All those things that the cashier is doing does not concern, or the customer does not even need to know anything about it. but they are important for the cashier to make sure that he's paying the $1,000 to the right customer. But that is not the customer's business. So these things that the cashier is doing to make sure that she doesn't make mistake in paying to the wrong person, and that the customer does not have any exposure to the bank, and the customer has the money, the customer's account is the customer signed correctly, and all that, which are important to the bank, but they are not important to the customer, are what we call value enabling activities. We do this to make sure that we maintain the business. We make sure that we follow the some regulations that be put in place not to expose the company to loss. We do all that. So those are also important, really, but they don't concern the customer. So we call it a value enabling activity. Then we have the third one, which is if what you are doing is not paying the customer is $1,000, if what you are doing is not making sure that the customer is the right person collecting the money, and you are debiting the customer's account, and you are counting the customer's money to make sure that he gets the $1,000, every other thing that we might be doing concerning this customer transaction is what we call a waste. And it could come in different ways. So examples of what we have here is that maybe the cashier made a mistake. He wanted to debit the customer's account. He debited a wrong account. Or the customer made a mistake and the cashier did not spot it out at the first time. He had to give the customer another deposit to fill or to sign off. So we did reviews, inspections, and all that require time, but they don't add any value. They require time and resources. They don't add any value to the business because they are done, because we didn't do it correctly the first time. We made mistake and all that. So all those things that we do that does not add value to the customer and they're not helping us to achieve value for the customer are what we call waste. So what Lean tries to do is to look at activities that companies do from whatever core businesses of the company or their core processes, to make sure that we could divide everything that they do into those three. In fact, sometimes we divide it into two. What is important to the customer and what is not important. But for clarity, we divide it into three. What is important to the customer? What is a must that we must do to help to make sure that customer is attended to and customer gets value? And the third one is all the other things that we do that does not concern the customer. So because of the goal of Lean is divide what we do into these three things. The first one, which is the most important thing, which is value added, why the customer came to the bank, we want to make sure we do more of that. That is what brings money to the business. Then the one we call value enabling is the goal of the business or Lean is to reduce it. So these are where we talk of automation, straight-through processing, because things that we do all the time, why would a cashier be checking whether a customer made mistake in the writing or in what's on the writing? Is there no way we could automate that? The customer will just put, which is what we do in our bank, that we've done for some banks now. So all those things that the cashier does to make sure or to check, does he have the money, does he have the amount and all that, all those things could be automated because they don't really concern the customer, they are value enabling. Then the last one, which we do once in a while, and we shouldn't be doing, our goal is to look for them and to eliminate them in the business. We call them waste. Okay, so if you check what we have there, which I just want to jump that, we divide them, like I said, into three. So in our experience, for companies that are not implementing Lean, most of their activities that look important are actually what we can refer to as waste, which means that they don't need to do those activities yet to do them. So the goal of the business or Lean is to make sure that we eliminate all these activities from the business, and the only thing that remains are just the value added activities. If you check what we have on the screen, we have the ones that are in red, we have the ones that are in green. You will see that if you check those rectangles, the ones that are in green are actually part of our activities that are important to the customer. The ones that are in red are the ones that we are doing that are not important to the customer, which we have to find out. So most times in our experience, we do more of those red than the green. So we want to identify the red and remove them. So what we have left is just the green that are important to the customer. Okay, so let's quickly look at one or two examples of those things that we call the waste. And I could just quickly round up. We can divide those things that we call into waste. We can divide them into 8. The first one is what we call defect. Defect is anything that we do to create error in our processes, or anything that we do to try to correct the error. For example, in our input of data, like we want to input the customer's amount we make mistake, it's a defect. They are missing information, errors in documents, confusing instructions. Then when it comes to production, we have defective and scrap materials, cost of inspecting defects, responding to customer complaints. We will think we have people that we call customer service officers, and their job is actually to respond to customer complaints. But in Lean, we say every time we are responding to customer complaints, we are actually having what we call a waste. Because if we have done our job well in the first time, then there shouldn't be any need for customer complaints. So every time we get assigned staff, and job is what we call them customer service or call center representatives, and they call. And if out of 10 calls that they receive in a day, or let's say 100 calls, 70 of them has to do with complaints. That is 70% of the work of the customer service staff is waste. That is how Lean sees it. Because when you respond to customer complaints, that means that something was not done well the first time. Remember the definition, we create a defect or we're trying to correct the defect. So the goal of Lean is to make sure that we eliminate defects in our processes, in our systems. The second one that we have is what you call overproduction. This is when you produce more than the customer wants, or you produce earlier than the customer wants it. So we have cases of unneeded reports, unneeded exit emails, and performing unrequested work. Now, if you check, we have a picture here of there's a picture that I showed of just hold on. Let me go back. Yeah, you see a picture of a fast food restaurant that has plenty of packs waiting for customers to buy. So somehow, if we have a customer like that, like if you have a company like this, which means that at the end of the day, all these ones that are being produced that are not bought they will like to give them to their staff, or they have to trash them because they can't sell them the next day. So as it happens in production, it also happens in businesses, that's in services. We produce unneeded reports for the customers, extra or excessive copies of our documents, excess emails, like something happened. There's a company that I did business with some time ago, and it's a financial institution. I did business with them about maybe 8 years ago. But now they have new set of customers now, and new set of staff, and their goal is to make sure that they get their old-time customer and staff back as old-time customers back. So something happened recently that in the last sometime in April, between April and this month, I have received call from almost about 8 different staff of that particular financial company discussing the same thing with me on how to come back. But the funny thing is that each of them never knew that I had spoken with one person before. So you can imagine the staff A calls me today, and I explained, when I did business with you, this was the company I was working for, and I needed to do business with you. But now I don't need it anymore. So, but if I see any of my friends that are interested, I will let them know, but I'm not interested in doing business with you guys. After about maybe 2 or 3 hours, staff B calls, starts the same issue all over again. I explained myself to staff B. Then 2 or 3 days after, staff C calls. So you keep wondering, the time they're supposed to be using looking for a genuine or a customer that they will have on board, they are calling me, asking me the same question, and they are getting the same response from me. So let's say the first one did the right thing. The remaining 9 staff or 8 staff that are called me, what they are doing is waste and is overproduction, because they are spending more time unnecessarily attending to me. They are providing more reports that I'm not even interested in. So this is how companies end up wasting, and they never know. Okay, so the next one is delay. This one is very common in most organizations. So, and Lynn says that anything that we do, it doesn't matter why, as long as we are waiting and we cannot continue, because we are waiting for people, we are waiting for signatures, we are waiting for information. Every time we have this happening, then a form of waste is taking place. So we are waiting for approval, we are waiting for information, we are waiting for instructions, we are waiting for people to come on board so that we can start our Zoom meeting. It doesn't matter why we are waiting. As long as you are waiting and you cannot do anything productive, is a form of waste. And we see this a lot in organizations waiting for maybe the CEO or the GM to sign a document before they can attend to the customer. A customer asks for a particular waiver, but they cannot, even though they are willing to give the customer because they want to be competitive, but nobody to sign. So we have a case where something will be delayed for the next 2-3 days, so which makes it not competitive anymore. So we have companies doing this, and it's a form of waste. The next one is non-utilized talent. This is where we have narrowly defined jobs and expectations. We have employees that are seen as a source of labor only and not a true process experts. People are told what to do, and they are not asked to think. Employees are not involved in finding solutions. Opportunities are missed because employees are not involved. So when we have highly skilled staff that their talents are not being used to the best of their abilities, then we say we are having a case of non-utilized talent. So where we have this, for example, now we have people that are highly qualified, that are doing many jobs that could be clerical work, but you have highly qualified people doing that. That's non-utilized talent. So you want to make sure that you put the right staff with the right talents to match the job and the job roles that staff do. That is one of the ways we could prevent this. So the next one is transport. This is excessive movement of materials, documents, information within an organization. So you have a document. Let me just give you an example to explain this. I have a friend that worked in one of the hospitals, in one of the government hospitals in Nigeria, and she needed to apply for what you call, she wanted to go on maternity, so she had to apply for maternity leave. So I saw the letter she wanted to give to her boss, and in the letter, I went to the medical director or chief medical director, something like that. That's the head. They now asked through so and so, through A, through B. So it has so many people that the document will pass through, almost about 8 different units. That particular letter will pass through before it gets to the medical director. So I jokingly asked her that before everybody signs this approval and approve for you to go on leave, you would likely have given birth and have come back. She laughed and she said that is true, that she would have given birth, come back before it's approved. But that is how it is done, because it goes through so many bureaucracies. So whenever we see bureaucracies where documents will have to go from one desk to the other and all that are unnecessary, then we have what we call transportation. There are companies, because they're trying to get global, that maybe they have their head office in South Africa or in Amsterdam or in UK, and they have businesses in maybe Tanzania, they have business in Ghana. And you have some approvals that could have been taken in Ghana, but that will have to pass through maybe a regional head office in Africa before it gets to London for another approval. So by the time you look at all that, then you look at their competition that could quickly get approval for the same stuff and get their staff getting the work done. But because this one goes through different levels of bureaucracy and approvals, then the company is not competitive. And for every time it does that, there's a form of resources attached to those things, and eventually it becomes a form of waste, which is called transportation waste. Then we have inventory. This one is so crazy because it hides virtually all types of waste that we are talking about. So when you have excess piles of materials, papers, files, supplies that you want to work with, whenever you have more than you need to get the work done, then we are looking at a form of inventory. So it requires people, equipment, and space to count, to transport, and to maintain. Sometimes if you don't get to use all these things on time, materials become obsolete and they are thrown away. So you have companies that have so many documents that they print. And I will give us a good example of inventory. We worked for a company, a bank, years ago in Nigeria, and they have different accounts that they open, which is normal. So they have account for kids, they have account for adults, they have account for companies, corporate accounts, and they also have accounts for fixed deposits. For each of these accounts, let's say there are 10 different types of accounts. Each of them have their own account opening form with different colorful packaging and all that. So this company have 10 different account opening forms. And so all these 10 account opening forms for each of the branches, they need to have enough stock for all these account opening forms. Now, when we checked all that they do, because that these are inventory, unnecessary inventory. Why do you have to keep all these things in all these branches? There's something happened in Nigeria then, which was that there was a new regulation from a central bank that companies should change, banks should change their account numbers from different digits, and they are using the standard digit, which is 10 digits. And remember that all these account opening forms are forms for 10 digits. And one of the instructions that CBN gave us that their account opening forms must reflect space or boxes for 10 digits. So what happens to all these stationaries that have been put into all these branches? The option that they have is that they start printing account opening forms all over again and start making all these corrections. The company also changed names of accounts to maybe to reflect what is happening in the industry. They have to keep printing new account opening forms to get all these things done. So you get to each of the branches and you get to their storehouse and you get to their stores and see piles and piles and piles of account opening forms that have become obsolete because maybe the digit boxes are not necessary anymore, or they are more than what is required, or they change the names of the accounts. So what did we do? We went through all these account opening forms. Fine, all these things that you guys are put there, they contain virtually the same type of information. So it's just the documents that are looking different. The same information customers will fill. So what we did was that we grouped them into two: the ones that are corporate accounts and the ones that are personal accounts. Anything you want to call it corporate personal accounts. So we designed one account opening form, which is just 4 pages for personal accounts. And we designed another account opening form, which is 7 pages for corporate accounts, because they have a lot of documentations that they require for them. Then what did we do? We tell them they are not printing these things anymore. They have an intranet portal, which everybody in all the branches all over the country, they have access to. So we get the IT to put these new account opening forms that have been designed onto their internet portal. So anytime any staff needs to open an account for a customer, it sits on his desk, log onto their internet portal, and print out the account opening form that he needs. So you could imagine that this was done within 1 or 2 days. All branches have access to all these account opening forms. We didn't move any document. We didn't print any stationery. We didn't send to any of the branches. That is how it is done. And today, there's even a better way that we are doing for our customers, for banks. They don't need to fill any form. They fill it online. They could fill it on their phone. So we don't need to keep all these stationaries that are becoming useless and obsolete. So this is what companies try to look at for things that we are using that are unnecessary. And sometimes they change. One thing about inventory, when we have plenty of inventory, this is what it does. You can see on the screen, it hides a whole lot of issues. If you have enough materials to work with, if there's waste in those materials, work will not stop because you have excess. You will keep getting it. You will keep bringing in new materials. So this is what you end up doing, that inventory will hide quality problems. When there are issues with suppliers and our suppliers don't deliver our products on time, we will not know because we have excess inventory to work with. There's an issue of housekeeping, then poor communications, there may be machine downtime. We may not bother because we have enough work that we have done, enough materials. So inventory will hide a whole lot of waste. So you can imagine if you say we don't have inventory in the company. So what does it do to all this waste? They start coming out. So we have all these issues coming out, which must be addressed. So if you don't deal with inventory, your company might be losing so much without you knowing. Do you know that inventory is also where you have more staff that you need to do the work done? So people can easily take days off, and it won't affect the business because you have more than enough work. People they will clock in late and they clock out on time. People just start doing their company hours to do personal work because 1, 2, 3, 4 person will still do the work if they're not around. So, but when there is no issue of inventory, then we begin to see where issues are in the company and we can improve our processes. Okay, then we have issue of motion, when people move around unnecessarily, when people move and the movement does not add value. Yes, we know sometimes it's good for us to move around, but let it be that you are doing that because of exercise, not because you don't have what they call it now. You don't have all that you need to work in one place, and you are affecting or delaying the customer to attend to the customer in whatever you're doing. And then the last one, because of time, so I can give them for maybe questions and answer, is what you call excess over processing. This is, see the picture that I put here. See the young man that wants to dine. Look at his fork and knife that he wants to use. They are too big for him to use. And as funny as it is, that is how most companies work. That is when we have unnecessary process steps, too many signature levels, unclear job descriptions. When we put in more effort, when customers should fill different forms for the same thing. I have an account with the bank and I want to open another one. I don't need to start filling form. All I need to give an instruction with my account details that I have, automatically another one is open. But today, some companies will say expect you to start filling form all over again, and you fill the same information. That's over processing. When you do more than is necessary to produce an effectively functioning product, so when you have extra setup steps, over specification of process, and extra processing steps. So when we have all this, then we have form of inventory, excess processing in the company, in the business. So what Lean does is to identify all these guys that are defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized talents, time, transportation, inventory and motion, which we call downtime as an acronym. And our goal is what? We want to deal with them and eliminate them in the business. So this is how Lean works. And at the end of the day, these are what we stand to benefit. I had to jump one or two because of time, that we are able to have improved quality, improve visual management in how we work, then increase efficiency, manpower. We end up reducing staff because you have, and I tell us what to do with that staff when they staff. So it's not maybe we sack, but we have manpower reductions and we move them into much more value enabling environment. Then we are able to manage our business better. We have total company involvement. We are able to, because our people understand how to solve problems so we can eliminate problems. We are not hiding problems anymore. We have reduced space, safer work environment. And at the end of the day, we have improved employee morale. So these are the three things that Lean works on. We are able to improve customer experience. So you have excellent service delivery, customer focused staff, and friendly environment. You are able to improve your staff satisfaction, provision of adequate working tools, reward and recognition of performing staff. Then lastly, we're able to maximize profit, which is the bottom line of the organization anyway, which is what that we're able to drive sales and generate more businesses. We're able to reduce cost of doing business, and we're able to increase shareholders' value. I think I want to stop at this point. Probably maybe if you have one or two questions to give. So I want Mercy to take over from here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Abidoun Adetula, thank you. I'd like us to, if you have any questions for him. Thank you, Busala. Do you have any question? We can take one or two because we are time boxed. I know we started 10 minutes late.
Yeah.
I was a bit worried. We only had 3 people, but now we've had over 30 minutes, 30 people in attendance, which is brilliant. Do we have any questions for him? And by the way, he's a black belt holder in, was it Six Sigma?
Six Sigma black belt, yes.
He's a black belt holder in Six Sigma, is a PMP certified trainer, he has just, I'm sure he wouldn't mind you connecting with him on LinkedIn. So I'll drop his LinkedIn URL. Feel free to connect with him. But in the meantime, do we have any questions for him? Any questions? We are happy to take one. Okay, there's a question in the chat. Yeah, go on. Somebody was trying to say something.
That's what I was trying to say, that there's a question in the chat, a couple of questions in the chat.
Yes. So there's a question in the chat for you.
Okay.
Said, why do company avoid Lean? It looks like a great to have. I was saying you don't know what you don't know until you know it. But let Bill
exactly.
It's 19 hours.
Okay. That what you said now reminds me of what I had. Okay, just so that let me just attend to I had a meeting with the director of legal in one company, and it is one of the vice presidents of the company. And when I wanted to do, I was supposed to consult for them on Lean and Six Sigma, and apparently I've been engaged, but she was very angry that they engaged me. So in the first meeting I had with the executive directors, she just stood up and said, you guys, you people just come and waste money, and you want to come and take our money. Lean does not work. You want to come and staff and sack people. You want to come, you end up sacking our staff. You end up overburdening our staff, and at the end of the day, it comes back to you because their staff will end up suing the company, and is the one that would bear all the headaches. That is not interested in all this nonsense that the company wants to do. I was taken aback that a whole senior, an executive vice president of a multi-billion-dollar company could be talking this way. So I tried to explain briefly, and I met her in person. So to ask her why she said so. And he said she has seen where companies are using it, and what they see is that they reduce their staff. And when they reduce staff, there are more people that are working. And because there are more people we have less people that are doing more work, so people are overburdened. People make mistakes, customers.
Network.
If that is your version of lean, then I'm sorry, you seem not to understand how it works. So now, why do people avoid lean? Because they are afraid that maybe they will not have enough staff again. Maybe they will sack staff. And because a lot of people have interest in the company, even though they want the best for the company, they also have what they call, they don't want to be that is their own, they are the one that sack staff. They don't want us to implement lean. So most times companies have a wrong impression about lean. They think that people will do more work and all that, but that is not true. In fact, the places that we have used it, in one of the companies that we worked for, people that closed 7, 8, when we finished, one of the staff told us that this is the first time in his career at that company that he'll be going home and be seeing sunlight, because he doesn't see, he's always going home at night. And staff were reduced, but we didn't sack staff. Maybe if there's time, we'll tell us what we do when we remove staff from business operations. We move them to more where they are value enabling. So in summary, people don't employ lean or implement lean because they don't know a lot about it. And because there have been a lot of consultants that have tried to collect money from people and tell them that they're implementing lean, but they didn't do it well. And because they didn't do it well, people don't get value. And most other companies are not interested. But lean is.
Anyway, that brings us to the end. So, but on wrapping up on this note, if you follow Learntor on YouTube, this video of this session, in case you missed it, it's going to be on YouTube. And I say you don't know what you don't know until you are exposed to knowing them. Exactly. The same problem that we have had just globally, for instance, Scrum had to be rephrased. That's where Agile Coach came in.
Exactly.
In Japan, there was a lot of abuse, and you have a lot of cowboys in the name of trainers.
Scrum Masters,
understanding of what it is. So if you're not exposed to the right people to train you, then you lose the full benefit of what you're supposed to gain. For me, I'm grateful, Mr. Adetula, for being on the call today and for sharing your wealth of experience with us. I've dropped his LinkedIn profile. You are happy to connect with him and ask him any direct questions. And please follow Learntor on all our social. The next conversation is going to be about GDPR. And you know that a lot of organizations are going to be slam dunk in terms of charges because we are, especially Africans, we are so far disconnected with GDPR laws and the fines that come with it. So I want to say thank you for showing up. Please follow the meetup so that you are up to date. And if you have any questions directly for us, do not hesitate to reach out to me, and I'll do a 3-way chat with you and Mr. Abidoun Adetula. Have a beautiful evening. So, any last words, Abidoun?
I would just say that you can learn more about lean, and lean is a fantastic. Lean is not a destination; it's the journey. And the more you know, the better for any company. For CEOs, more than ever before, you need to start implementing lean for your organization. And we are always available to help you. And but more importantly, just have the knowledge and let all your staff have the knowledge of lean, and let's implement.
Thank you so much, everyone, and have a good evening. Yes, the recording is on YouTube. Do follow our YouTube channel, and you'll get more. You can learn more from what he has said. And if you have any questions, do reach out to me on LinkedIn. And if you're not following Mercy on LinkedIn, look out Mercy George-Igbafe. I'm happy to connect. Have a good evening. Thank you. I'll call you right now, okay?
Okay. Yep.
Bye.